Hi, I'm Patu from freefincal. What is the most difficult decision in personal finance or money management? I would say it is buying a health insurance policy. Now, what are the most common personal finance decisions? It is getting life insurance, health insurance, accident insurance, setting up an emergency fund, preparing for short term goals, preparing for long term goals. When it comes to an investment, if it's for a short-term goal, I mean, if you're going to invest in a fixed deposit or recurring deposit, it's not a big deal even if you have to pay a tax because it's a short-term investment and that money is going to go away from your life in exchange for something else. If it's a long-term investment, if you're going to buy a stock or a mutual fund, if you have bought the wrong stock or the wrong mutual fund, you can exit and choose another one. Even in the case of bad products like ULIPs or endowment policies, there is a way out. You can surrender it, make it prepaid, or wait until there's time for you to get out in the case of a ULIP and so on. So there's always a way out in most of these products. Even in the case of life insurance, you can take a chance by saying, okay, first of all, we are not going to be there when the claim is going to be made. Second, you can take a chance, assuming that you live for a few years and stack up at least reasonable amount of wealth, so that even in the if there's a problem in the life insurance claim, your family will not suffer immediately. So this, I mean, it's not so bad as health insurance. That's what I'm trying to say. Because in the case of health insurance, over the course of a few years, maybe a decade, a couple of decades, you or one of your family members more than likely to make one or more than one claim. It will be like 2, 3, 4 claims. So you're going to repeatedly use the policy, and the policy must be good enough to be able to give you the money in the time of need, preferably by cashless. If not by cashless, at least in the case of at least via reimbursement. Sorry. uh, Buying a health insurance today has become so difficult that I'm really scared. I mean, this is one topic that scares me every time. I've written a lot of posts on health insurance, made quite a few videos on health insurance, but suddenly people stop me and tell me, appoint me a health insurance. I'm scared. I'm very, very scared of recommending. I would rather even recommend a stock or a mutual fund to them, but not a health insurance policy. The reason for that is it's an extraordinarily personal application. First of all, getting the policy is extraordinarily personal application, and what happens later on is something that you cannot control. Uh, Broadly, we can classify the health insurance policies available today as those private policies and the public sector undertaking policies. All the PSU policies have got a room rent limit. That is, they will limit your the maximum room rent they will allow to 1% of the sum assured, and the ICU room rent, daily room rent, to be 2% of the sum insured. This means that practically, other than medicines and implants, all other charges will be related to the room rent. I recently underwent this problem. I will provide a detailed example of how this room rent clause works and how it can affect you in another video. So other everything from doctors' fees, nursing fees. I have a long list here. I can just scroll down and get it for you quickly. So essentially, nursing care, IV fluids, blood transfusion, injection administration charges, anesthesis, blood, oxygen, operation theater charges, surgical appliances, medicines and drugs, dialysis, chemotherapy. All of these will be linked to your room rent. Room rent rate. This is so you can lose anywhere between 20 to 25% if you go for a room rent which is a little bit above 10, let's say 10% above your prescribed room rent. I'll share a detailed example of this. So that's one type of policies available with a PSU. Then there are the private policies private insurers which do not have the room rent sub limit. There are problems in either case. In the case of PSU, they are rigid in this sense, and but they are more likely to settle your claim, and not just me, many others would also agree, and you can see that from their claim incurred ratios. They're more likely to settle it because they don't have this kind of corporate forces behind them to for generating more profit and so on. They do not have it as much as that of the private policies. Of course, all the PSCs are going to be privatized. I mean, they're not going to be privatized. They're going to be listed, and that may or may not change things. It depends on how much the government holds in that. So that's a problem there. So on the one hand, you have the PSU policies and the private policies. The problem in the PSUs is is room rent. The real problem is not the room rent. It's because the health insurance, the medical industry has quickly become profit minded, very drastically become profit minded, and it's now become part of the hospitality industry, as I like to call it. And they want to quickly treat patients, send them away for a few days, maximize how much ever money we can get out of them, send them away, move on to the next patient, and so on. And the room rents are extraordinarily high. The room rent has suddenly shot up even in neighborhood hospitals. I think I made a video on this. I'm surrounded by hospitals right from where I sit, and there's an Apollo hospital right here, just 100 feet away. There's an Apollo hospital. Then there's the Kaveri hospital where Kalangar Karunanidhi of the DMK died. Recently, Kresi Mohan was also admitted there before he died, and that's an extremely expensive hospital. I mean, I have a room rent cover, at least for my mother. My mother's room rent cover is room rent limit is 5,500 rupees, and there the private room, just an ordinary private room, is almost twice that. It's just too expensive. I can't go and admit my mother there. I mean, I might as well pay on my own. It's as bad as that. Instead of just get about half the insurance, half the medical costs. So that's terrible on the one hand. On the other hand, you have the privates without the room rent supplement. But the problem is that they're kind of strict when it comes to giving the policies. If you go with pre-existing diseases, they will say they will exclude it, or they can hike the premium by a lot. In most cases, they front load they load the premium from day one, or they will simply reject the policy. And if they find out that there's a possibility that some disease which was not disclosed knowingly or unknowingly at the time of application was present, was there some evidence for it prior, then they will reject the claim. So they're a lot more tougher to deal with in terms. They are very easy to get. If you have money, you can buy. They will lay down the red carpet for you, not red carpet for you, and you can get the policy. But when it comes to claim, how good will it be is a question that I have. There are good stories. There are positive stories that many people have told me that it works and all that. But then, see, for example, I have made something like 4 claims over the past 12 years, maybe 12 years or so. 4 claims over 12 years. I would like that kind of experience from the private players, from somebody holding a private policy. I have made 4 claims with United India. I would reason, except for the last claim, which I will talk about in the next post. All the others, I have never had any problems. Even this, I was okay with it. 85% of it was approved. So this is my fear of private players, that they are very easy because their market share is low. They want to increase market share, so they are making it very inviting for people to buy. But will they support at the time of claim is a doubt that I have. And the people who say they will support are people with vested interest. They are the guys who sell insurance. And then there are people who say, I purchased a policy, there was no problem at all. The process was very smooth. Well, that's not what's important. I mean, these are people who have never had to make a claim. So that's what worries me So the point I'm trying to make is I call buying health insurance the most difficult decision in personal finance because I don't know. I mean I don't know what to do. I have a fear of privates, but I've now come to a stage where I need a private base cover. Uh, I've come to that stage because hospitals around me are all the room rent is very high. I need to buy a private base cover. I'm seriously considering buying one. To be frank, I may need to get professional help for this. We'll talk about that later. And in the case of PSUs, but I'm also scared to let go of my PSU policy because I'm scared that even if because mine is not a clean claim, I have pre-existing disease, my mother has pre-existing disease, so it will not be easy. They may exclude it. See, if they say, for example, my myasthenia gravis, if they're going to exclude it, then what? If they say I have hypertension, if they're going to exclude hypertension and myasthenia gravis, then it makes you wonder what is the point in getting the cover. In my mother's case, definitely they are likely to exclude Parkinson if they even offer it. They are very unlikely to uh, I mean to do so. They will never offer it for her age 71 and Parkinson. They probably will not do it, or their premium will be so high. So that's on the other side. Then this on the other side, I don't want to let go of my PSU. I am now in a position where I have to buy a private cover. So I don't know what to do, how to what to recommend to others. So this is literally tearing me apart. I'm being honest here. This has been on my mind for a long time. That's the reason why I say it's a very very difficult decision. I don't know which side to go. Every side wherever you go, there's a problem. There are two solid half solutions for this. One is please invest little bit more for your goals, at least 5%, 10% more, so that extra you can use as a medical corpus later on. I mean, I have now come to that stage. I wonder, yeah, my net worth has grown. Why do I even need a policy? Why should I break my head? I might just as well use a slice of my net worth is a thought in my mind, but I cannot use that if I have repeated huge expenses. So, but anyway, everybody needs that medical corpus, so I think we should plan for that. The other is that if you are in a company and if you have a very good company cover, if you are going to change companies within the next couple of years, few years, and so on, you can consider shifting that. When you leave, you can talk to your HR and convert that group policy into a private policy for you and your parents. You cannot do that at the time of retirement because there will be severe restrictions. I mean, if you're going to exit at beyond 45 or so, then there may be limitations. So, for if you're young and reasonably healthy, you can do this. Convert it into a private cover before you join the next company because there'll be a gap and that's dangerous. So you can consider that, or you can take a chance and shift to the next company cover. It's up to you. So those are all reasonable problems. Then there's this portability issue. You can say, why don't you port your PSU cover into private cover? Portability, application for portability is a right. Getting it ported is not a right. The new company may reject me. They'll say, I won't port you're spoiled goods. I'm not going to touch you. And even if they do, they can put additional clauses, additional exclusions. The premium could be higher. So by porting, I may be going from the frying pan into the fire. So that will be the problem. So it's like wherever you go, there is some kind of a problem. I mean, it will always look rosy on the outside, but I'm talking about private covers. But are they going to? I mean, they cannot see. Let's be very clear. The reason I'm very suspicious of private covers is because all these guys are driven by corporate profits, the corporate greed. They need, for them, profit is the key. And the only way they can remain profitable in a shitty business like health insurance is by making sure they cover only healthy people, which beats the purpose for us in a sense, or by excluding medications, certain medical conditions. And exclusion is a problem because they can argue, even if it is not connected, they can argue that it is connected and rejected or cause problems for you. So it's a headache. So that they're going to make money by making sure they have a very good base. The pool of people who are insured, that must be a healthy pool. That's when they will not pay out as many claims as many as they would like to. I hope I worded that right. So they would like to pay less claims. That's what I meant. The other way is to make sure if there are problem cases where there are repeated claims and there are outliers, they would like to reject that. That's the only way they're going to work. And the other problem is group claims will not be rejected. Why? Only because of business. If they reject a corporate employee's claim, then the company will say you are bad. We are going to change you next year. Then they will lose that business. So in fear of losing business, they will settle claims. That same thing happens with big health insurance distributors or agents, whatever you want to call them, they aggregators, whatever you want to call them. If they send the claim, they tend to accept it at least partially because they're worried that those guys will. They know that these guys will give them fresh business. That's just annoying. That you can't have that kind of. So that's essentially one thing. I'm really scared about this. You can't depend on a third party for you to get a claim settled. You can't depend on the power of the business, the revenue generating power of a third party, which is the distributor or the agent, to make claims for you. That person may go away, or that person may die, whatever may. So it's extremely risky, and you're stuck with the product. That's what is really, really worrying me. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. If you already have a cover, just be careful, read all the terms and conditions, make sure you understand them and apply accordingly. If you have a PSU cover, I think you should look at the hospital at least around you and look at the covers, room rents, and if they are too high compared to your policy sum assured, then you should definitely consider getting a private cover. Or if there is a way for you to pay extra premium and waive that room rent supplement, you can do that. That's also a possibility, but some may offer it, some may not offer it. So these are all different aspects of the health insurance industry that is making me scared. People will say, some fellow will say, that is why you should always invest, you should always buy health insurance with a professional. Go screw yourself. That guy will be a professional. There'll be a conflict of interest there. That's my problem. It's not there's always a conflict of interest in these statements. I get, this is really, to be very frank, I'm scared, and I have to pay more if I have to maintain both my PSU base cover and if I'm going to get a private cover, I'll have to pay more, and that's another problem. Well, not everybody can do it. Maybe I can afford it, but not everybody can afford it. Clearly not, because they have other goals to worry about. So that's the reason why I call it the most difficult decision in personal finance or money management. I've ranted on and on. I've stopped here. I will show you an example of how room rent sublimits can hurt in the next video. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, questions on this aspect, please post them below.